Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video I'm going to give you my recap for my patch 3.9 league start. I'm going to give you all the things that went wrong, right, and my kind of decisions and where I ended up. So if you're interested in someone else's journey, definitely stay tuned because it was quite a wild one indeed. So to start off with, I did of course start off with a Deadeye character, and I decided to go with Tornado Shot, and I did this for a few reasons, but in the past it generally has been the best decision, at least for me, as it allows me to transition very quickly into farming endgame maps, as well as high level content like Domains of Timeless Conflict and all that kind of stuff once I secure the Headhunter-ish gear. So with that said, that's why I decided to go with it. I also had a bit of a different plan as well this week, that I was going to try doing bossing with it as well, but we know that that actually didn't turn out quite as I had planned, and we'll go into that now. So we started off in the white to yellow maps, and that was fine on Tornado Shot. I was able to kill bosses pretty okay, and I was able to kill the white and yellow Conquerors as well without any issues. It just took a long time, due to the fact that the Tornado Shot damage is just a little bit low in the early days, despite having some decent DPS gear. So next up, we obviously move on to the red Conquerors, which I actually could not kill in any sort of reasonable time frame. I could kill the ice one, and I could kill the red one, the guy who does the big squares, but I could not kill Drox, or I could not kill the green one. I would just die every time to them on Tornado Shot, so I did have to get them carried, and I paid quite a bit of that to a few miners. I'm sure they know who they are, but yeah, so TS definitely let me down there in that department. But we'll be getting to how I fix that later on. So anyway, I was having quite a lot of trouble in red maps, not only with the Conquerors, but also with the map bosses, as well as the Metamorphs. Once you get into T14 plus maps, you're going to notice a massive spike in the life and difficulty of the map bosses. They have considerably more life, like we're talking like millions and millions of life now, which is definitely a lot more than they used to have, so much so that, like you can see in the background, my summoner here is trying to kill it. It's got about as much life as I would probably say a Conqueror, a red Conqueror. That probably is what I would compare it to, honestly. For another comparison, I've been doing full party Venomous runs, like the bestiary version. So that's 6-man HP Venomous, and I can solo that, and it takes less time than a map boss. So they have a ton of life now, and not only the map boss, but the actual Metamorphs have a ton of life as well, although that varies quite a bit depending on the mods that you put on it. So with these two things combined, I could clear the map on my Tornado Shot character in like a minute, but then I'd spend like 2, 3, even 4 minutes trying to kill the Metamorph, trying to kill the map boss, and that was a massive issue due to the fact that because of the Awakener bonus and the league mechanic, that is a big part of where map sustain is stored in the new league. Like the map boss drops a ton of the map boss drops a ton of maps, the Metamorph drops a ton of loot and maps, like multiple T1 currencies all league for me, you know, tons of maps. It's insane. You can't not kill them. And due to the fact that my character had such low single target damage by today's standards in T16 maps with level loaded Awakener kind of like in the game, I found myself like finding the urge to want to reroll. Not only that, but coupled with that, on my first few days I had some extremely bad RNG. The plan was to farm Sakawal, First of the Skies. He's a bestiary boss. He drops a very, very common drop, Sakawal's Nest. It's a chest piece, which goes for about 2 exalts, and if you farm it in a party, the idea is that that 2 exalts would be pure profit, and the rest would be kind of like subsidized by the fact that you were getting 6 of him, because you're in a full group. So you could kind of mitigate the cost of the actual key. Now we did like 8 runs, 9 runs, and we didn't get a single chest piece, and that was like all of our money invested in there, and then we had to wait a ton of time to sell those beasts on, and they actually dropped in price. So I basically lost a lot of currency on day 3 or something like that, and I was feeling like kind of like annoyed at the league a little bit, because like the map bosses had so much HP. I was like kind of like struggling a lot on Tornado Shot, so I did what I thought I needed to do. I decided to scrap the character and completely re-roll into another character on day 3, and that is probably one of the best decisions I made this league. I decided to re-roll from Tornado Shot into what you saw in the background there, which is a zombie summoner. which uses the Montragol's Grasp Scepter, and I will show you guys that character coming up here in a little bit. But there's more to this story. So we rerolled to Necromancer, and we were now able to do Conquerors by ourselves. We were able to do like all the map bosses and Metamorphs without fail, and we were able to farm bosses effectively, like the Venomous. We can do 6-man Venomous. I can do that by myself. I can carry the whole thing. I couldn't do that on Tornado Shot. There's no way. The Necromancer's CI, so you stop dying to all that chaos damage. It's just fantastic, and it's really a high quality of life in terms of a build. It's a lot slower, but it makes up for that with the fact that you never die. You can kill pretty much anything in the game, bar maybe like 5 ways, and it's just like, it's like kind of like methodical and nice and relaxing to play. So the Necromancer was a fantastic reroll, but the story doesn't end there. I basically went to town farming bestiary bosses by myself in a 6-man group, and let's just say I did pretty well. And in a few days, I acquired enough currency to pretty much buy what anything I needed. I bought like a pretty much full geared my my Necromancer, like to a reasonable level at least. Bought 2 Inspired Learnings, bought the Headhunter, bought the whole package back, so I re-geared the Deadeye, and I decided that I was going to take it back into T16 maps and give it a whirl once again with the full gear. And lo and behold, I actually realized that it still had a similar problem. You could clear the whole map in a flash, like 1 minute, or like 2 minutes, and then when you got to the boss, you would sometimes have headhunter buffs, in which case you would do very well. But if you didn't have enough headhunter buffs, for example, if the map wasn't rolled with Beyond or anything like that, you would still struggle. This is a big issue that I was running into, and maybe you could get past this by using full awakened gems, you know, like insane gear, you know, maybe a deck stacking bow would be better than one I have. But yeah, basically these things just have so much HP that I don't even know if the Deadeye could do anything to it in its current state. So I decided to go with a new plan, and that was the plan of buying a 6-link Death's Opus and a Void Fletcher for a weapon swap. I have since sold those 2 items due to the fact that I had made some decisions, which I'll talk about in a second. But basically, with a 6-link Death's Opus, a Barrage 6-link setup, and obviously the Void Fletcher, you were able to quickly hit the weapon swap key and then just barrage into the boss, and it actually does die. And so does the Metamorph. You can kill them at a pretty reasonable rate with that setup with flasks up. And I imagine as you get the awakened gems and, you know, scale it even more and more, you can probably do quite well. Alternatively, if you have those headhunter buffs, or you have a support or something like that, like an Auramancer with you, you will also do quite well as well. However, with solo play, which is what I play, it still was feeling a little bit inconsistent. If I didn't have the buffs, I wasn't going to do very well. If I got a like life regen Metamorph, I couldn't kill it. If it regened after I popped on my flasks, and it was just kind of annoying. But the thing that really topped it all off is how much you die in these T16 level 8 Awakener maps. Not only is there like insane map mods, not only is there like just like more monsters and everything's way tankier, but just like many of the bosses, which you have to do now due to the new kind of endgame mapping system, just have a lot of just one-shot mechanics if you're not playing like a 10k ES build. Like obviously I'm on 3.7k HP here, that's not a lot. I have 40% dodge of both spell and physical, but you will get hit eventually, and that's going to lead to a death or multiple deaths in some cases, specifically with Metamorphs. Metamorphs just are going to one-shot you just like out of the blue a lot of the time if you don't have a massive life pool and mitigation, and that was really just starting to grind my gears, pun intended. So I did come up with the idea that I could do 2 PoE clients, one with a Necromancer, with my Necromancer's gear on, and then one with my Deadeye. I use the Deadeye to clear the map, portal up, and then put my Necromancer in, kill the boss and the Metamorph, and portal out. And that is probably the ideal setup for this league if you want to go to the trouble of doing that. But honestly, I can't really be bothered going through the game again, getting all the lab trials, and then getting it to like level 90-ish, and then having that. So with that said, what is my plan going forward? I'm actually just going to play the Necromancer pretty much for the rest of like my mapping until I think of something else which could kill the map bosses and Metamorphs and survive at like a high rate, and maybe even make use of my Headhunter. But until I come up with that build, I'm probably going to be playing Necromancer, and I'm going to bench the Tornado Shot for now. I will keep it geared though in case I want to play around with some low map tier farming or some Domain of Timeless Conflict. But having said that though, I do think I would advise anyone, if you're looking or having trouble with T16 or 14-ish maps on your Tornado Shot character, and you don't want to invest in like Void Fletcher, 6-link, Awakened Gems and all that kind of stuff like that, and you're having that damage issue, maybe it's time to look at a different build, because I was having a lot of trouble and I was frustrated, so I just went and made a new character, and that's exactly what I'm going to show off to you guys now. So you guys saw it mapping at the start there. It's definitely nowhere near as fast as a Deadeye or a Headhunter build or anything like that. I would basically compare the two like this. A Deadeye with Tornado Shot and Headhunter is like a Formula 1 racing car, whereas the Necromancer is like a bus. You're on the bus. It's not fast, it's not necessarily effective, but damn is it relaxing. You don't have to do anything, you can put your music in and you can just chill out. There's no like drama, there's no swapping, there's no issues with any of that. You don't even have to hit your flasks if you don't really want to. It's just chilled out. So basically that's why I'm doing it. You can make a ton of currency as a Necromancer. Killing basically any of the bosses right now are profitable. So if you're looking for currency, there's no problem. A boss killer will do you very well indeed this league. So much so that I made like a headhunter's worth of currency in like a day just killing bosses. It's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, definitely I'm going to be recommending the Necromancer if you guys are just looking for a chilled out time and you're not too worried about min-maxing that clear speed. Having said that though, I will be thinking in the back of my mind of a way to win at both things, both bossing, survivability and clear speed. That is on my to-do list, and I have a few ideas which I will be trying out, as Tornado Shot didn't work out as well as I'd hoped. Despite being a clear speed beast, it just doesn't have the DPS. So that's kind of been a bit of a summary of my league start. And a lot of the thing that stifled me was the Awakener bonus, of course, but also the massive buff to TC theme map bosses. Now to conclude this video, I do want to quickly give you guys a quick rundown of how the character works and my plans for it in the future. So currently I have about a medium level of gear. It's pretty serviceable. You can pretty much do any content in the game with this setup, including Cyrus or whatever his name is. It's definitely possible to kill him. All you'll need to do is do a quick gem swap with zombies to skeletons, and you can do it just fine, assuming that your mechanics are sound. Now with that said, what are we going to look for here in the build? So it is of course Chaos Inoculation, pretty low amount of energy shield currently, due to the fact I haven't heavily invested in this because I dumped all my money into the Deadeye. But with that said, it's a strength stacking build. You want to get as much strength as possible. That's your main stat, and that's what you'll be focusing on. In terms of key items, what you'll be looking for is a 6-link Joffrey Sanctuary and Shaper's Touch gloves. As well as that, you're going to be looking at buying a ton of these jewels. Like you've got stuff like Efficient Training, which you'll need 3 of. You can put them there, and you'll also need quite a few of this gem here, which is Brawn, and look for a max strength roll. And the overall idea is that you have these massive zombies which do a ton of damage due to the Montregal's Grasp scepter you can see up here. Let's just summon the boys out. And they've got a ton more life, so they're not going to die as easy. They have tons of resist, and they do 100% more damage. So they do double the damage of normal zombies. And they also have explosions. This is basically an explodey weapon from Synthesis, but it's for your zombies. So when they kill something, 20% of the monster's max life will explode and kind of like shotgun all of the mobs. It's kind of like Herald of Ice, but for zombies, and it makes the clear pretty satisfying if you have it. Packs will all be exploding pop, just like you do on any other build, but you're a summoner, and if you have good gear, you probably have like 12 to 13k ES. And one of the best DPS in the game if you swap over to skeletons, which is pretty damn cool in my opinion. So with all that said, hopefully you guys have enjoyed my little bit of a league start recap. I will do a guide for this zombie character in depth with best in slot gear, as well as how you can kind of get to that best in slot gear. similar to my Tornado Shot character. Obviously, Tornado Shot is definitely still viable. The nerfs did basically nothing, but the real nerf was in the form of buffs to map boss HP, but it's completely untouched for every other kind of circumstances. If no one had told me that they nerfed the projectile speed, I honestly wouldn't have been able to tell. It's completely full screen as a Deadeye, and you won't even notice the difference. So with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.